Welcome to the unveiling of untold history documentaries, mastering classes in business management, and sparking insights through money dialogues. This is Jeph Kafka TV, where you discover untold business histories, master the art of management, and ignite money conversations that matter.
Welcome to today's episode. As usual, we have a chalk, a blackboard, and some tea ready to deliver some content. So today we shall be talking about two very important things in business, but not just business, but also for personal development. So the first thing, I'm calling it income for value, or you can just put it as value. So the first question I want to ask ourselves, when you hear the word value, what comes to mind? And if you're a Christian, you might be thinking about Christian values. You're kind, you're forgiving, but I'm not talking about those values. This is a business class, so whatever we are talking about must be connected to business. So what is value? Do you have value? Do you create value? And are you compensated for that value? So that is why we're talking about income for value. By the end of this lesson, maybe in the next 40 or 50 minutes, I'll teach you how to start the simplest business that you can start. So anyone can start it. So I'll give you points as we move on, tell you what to do. And if you follow those points and do and become, you'll have a business maybe at the end of the year. Value now, the definition. It's any economic activity that brings or adds value to the community. Another thing that you should note is that value is perceived. Okay, let's put it this way. If you are selling water, kama saizi January, when it is very dry, even the councils do not have enough water, do you think, how will the customers perceive the value of one mtungi of water? It will be high, right? How about you're selling the same water near a river? You'll have the commodity you're selling, but the customers do not value it, so they will not compensate you. So meaning, for us to be able to define value, the person you're offering it to must perceive its worth, or what you call in economics, its utility, so that they can be able to do what? To compensate you for the same. Now, there are two things that I want us to clarify as we move on. Value creation and value capture. I'll give examples to be able to define this. Assume you're Bill Gates, a billionaire and also a philanthropist, and you fund an organization to research and develop a cure for AIDS, perhaps. Has he added value to the community? Yes, right? But when this cure or this drug is developed, the customer, or rather the patients, are given for free. So what has he done? He has created value, but since there is no income related to that value, he has not captured the value. So now the opposite is true. Another person does the same, develops a drug, but now sells it to the market. So what is he doing? Value capture. So in all these cases, us will be interested in cases where value is created and at the same time, value is captured. So we've said value is the utility that a person who is compensating you derives. So now the other question is, how do you create this value? How do you capture it? And I'll use a story to illustrate this. There was a man, an old man, a good businessman. His name was Kibathi. That is Kikuyu for Kibathi, Kibathi. So he had 4 sons. The oldest, the second born, the third born, and the fourth born. So this man, he had spent his whole life doing farming business. He had a big farm, but not just farming like this, the way we do it for hobby. He had structures, he had systems, he had machinery. He had a very big farm and very many dairy cows. He was a big supplier of milk to the local cooperative society that bought milk. And he was making a lot of money, to the extent that even people told him, asimame akuwe MP. You know, when you have money, people tend to give you those crazy ideas. Called him chief, they called him mheshimiwa, all those names to, endear themselves to him. So he was an opinion leader in the society. But as he aged, as he grew older, he realized that he needed one of his sons to step up and become the manager of this farm. So what did he do? He called them all. He called, the firstborn was Kamau, the secondborn was Jogona, Joroge was the thirdborn, and then there was Sam. They had a big age difference. The oldest was approaching 50. He was the firstborn, and he had worked with his father for a long time. The secondborn was in his late youth stage, around 35, and Joroge, the thirdborn, he was just hitting 30, and Sam, I think, was 22. He had just finished university. So he told them, this is my plan. I need one of you to manage this farm because I'm getting old, and also to make sure after I pass, it's in good hands. Not just for the one who will manage it, but even for the other generations. So he told them, this is what I'll do. I'll give each of you 2 million shillings. And you go and do business. Whoever sells the most milk at the end of 2 months will be the manager. So everyone was given the 2 million shillings. Even Sam, but Sam looked uninterested. See, like how you Gen Zs behave. Always in the bedroom, always with headphones, always, trying to not do what they are told, because the others had operated at least a machinery in the farm. They at least knew how to milk a cow, but Sam never did any of that. But anyway, he was given the 2 million also. So this is what they did. Kamau went and looked for a small farm. A small farm. He bought it for around 1 million shillings. He then bought 10 hybrid grade cows. Freshens, I think. And in his estimation, each cow could produce 30 liters of milk every day. So he knew that if he had 10 cows, he fed them well, he did everything well, he would be able to produce 30 liters of milk every day from each cow. He would be able to sell at the net price that he would dictate, and he would be able to make money. But Kamau was a hard worker. He woke up every day early in the morning, went to the to look for feed, came back, did the milking, washed the cow sheds, did all that. At the end of the day, he had his 30 liters and he sold the milk. So the net price, after taking out his expenses, was about 20 shillings. So I want you to put that somewhere so that we can be able to calculate how much money he made. Then we go to Jogona. Jogona, as you said, he was the second born child, didn't like a lot of hard work. And he also wanted to observe what his big brother would do so that he can either copy or change a little bit. But when he saw how he was breaking his back for the cows that he had bought, he thought, this is not for me. So he thought, why should I buy cows when all I need is milk? So what did he do? He went around and found the big farms that already had cows. And he told the management that he wanted to buy all the milk from those farms. But it was not possible because they already had their customers, right? They already had their distribution channels and what they were doing. So he thought quickly and said, okay, I will rent each cow. I had never heard of that before. So he said, I'll give you 3,000 shillings and for every month for each cow so that I can lock that cow that you can only sell the milk to me. So the owners of the farm saw it as a good idea because the farms had over 300 cows. So if he locked each cow with 3,000 bob, how much was that? 900,000, right? Remember, he had 2 million to spend, right? Then the other money he spent on buying pickup for distributing the milk, etc. So the cows were the same quality as Kamau's cows. They could be able to produce at least 30 liters of milk every day. So he also had some employees because managing 300 cows, the distribution, that's a lot of work, right? So he had 5 employees. He paid each 20,000 shillings. And at the beginning of the second month, so all these people sold the milk from the 1st to the 30th of the month. So that is what we are comparing. So during this period, he was able to sell 30 liters of milk from the 300 cows for 30 days. And he was making a net of 15 shillings. So you'll do the maths for me. And remember, there was some money he used to rent the cows, right? And there was an amount he used to pay the salary for his 5 employees at 20,000 each. So we can get the net, how much he got. Remember, the father said what? Whoever makes the most profit will be the manager. So we have already seen what Kamau has done. Now this is Jogona's maths. We'll see who will be at the top. Then we go to the third born, Joroge. Joroge was kind of different a little bit, While they lived in the farm, he lived as if he was in town. Always wearing suits, talking business language, etc. He was the kind of guy who had ideas every time. He used to go to his dad. He used to tell him, oh, we should change these. We should try these. We should employ this person, all those things. He was an accountant in training. And he had at least, he used to study a lot. So he had a lot of information. Again, he saw what his brothers had done. And he thought the same way as Jogona. Why do I need cows or milk? Well, all I need is to be a middleman so that I can be able to just make the profit without the work that my brothers are doing. Because remember, Kamau is toiling. Jogona is managing the 300 cows and the 5 employees. So Joroge wants to do it the easy way. So what did he do? He went to the customers. Any institution or organization that used milk. Think of schools. Think of hospitals. jails. Where else could he go? Any organization that he knew used milk, he went there. And he went there in his suit with a laptop, and he told the management, I have a proposal for you. He asked them, how much do you buy your milk? They gave him the price. He told them, I'll sell to you high quality milk, but for 10% less than what you're buying now. Remember, he has no cows. He hasn't looked for any producer. He has gone directly to the market to look for buyers. The people, or rather the buyers, were like, okay, that's a good idea. So when do you start? Njoroge told them, wait a minute, I'll need a deposit so that I can be able to start supplying you with the milk. But you know from experience, ukiitisha client deposit kabla uanze kazi atasemaje? Probably refuse, yeah? Yeah. So what did Njoroge do? Njoroge told them, do you know who my father is? So he introduced his father to the people he was selling the milk to. And everyone knew his father. Remember, he was a prominent man in the society. So he used the reputation of his father, who was also a good milk farmer, to get these people to do what? To give him a deposit. So with his 2 million shillings that he had been given by his father, he was able to raise an additional 5 million shillings from the proposed customers that he had. So with that now, with the money and with the market ready, he was able to go to the farms, do like his brother. Remember, his brother was renting the cows so that he was locking the cows. His brother had only one farm with 300 cows. But Njoroge was able to go to find 10 farms. Each farm had an average of 200 cows. And remember, as we said, these cows are almost the same. So he's able to make, they're able to produce 30 liters of milk each and every day. So 10 farms, each with an average of 200 cows, each producing 30 liters per day. But now, his logistics had to be more. He had one to look for refrigerated trucks to transport the milk. He had to build storage facilities near the towns or the areas he was going to supply the milk. Remember here, these are big institutions. Hapeleki ati chupa tatu za maziwa. It's a lot of milk, right? So he spent a lot of money on those processes. And he had about 100 employees paying 20,000 each. So when he did his maths, the wear and tear, the repairs and maintenance, etc., he was able to make a net of 8 shillings for every liter he sold. So for Njoroge, we can say he had 10 farms, each with 200 cows, each producing 30 liters for 30 days, and he's making a net of 8 shillings. He has 100 employees. He's paying them 20K. And you can even put miscellaneous expenses of about 1 million. I mean, the operation was high. It was high level of operation. Now, before you give me the answers of how much they made each, let's look at Sam. Sam stayed in his room almost for 3 weeks as his brothers toiled and went to look for farms, and others went to look for customers and started spending their money. Sam was in his bedroom, Gen Z style, headphones, laptop, music, only appearing in the sitting room for lunch and supper. Even his father thought, huyu kijana atakula takula pesa. Little did he know that this boy was doing research in his computer. And after 3 weeks, he moved out. Now he went to the real marketplace. He went and talked to farmers. He wanted to understand the challenges that they were facing. He talked to regular people who were buying milk, customers. He wanted to understand them also. He then went to the distribution centers, understood how they operated. He went to the processing companies. He understood how they operated, even how they took advantage of the farmers, such things. And he thought of solving that problem. So what did he do? Sam created an app. Remember, he had just graduated from computer school, and he had self-taught himself how to code. So this app was to connect the farmer with the customer. That if you wanted fresh milk, you would just go to the app, you will find the farmers around, you'll find the prices that they are charging. He then connected the app with border riders. That once the customer has found the farmer who is selling milk around him, he'll also find a border rider who is around, who will do what? Go and bring or rather deliver the milk to them. He didn't stop there. He went to the suppliers of things like animal feeds, medicine for cattle, fertilizers, and all those inputs that farmers use to make milk or to tend to the cows. So what did he do? He made them list their products in the app so that if a farmer wanted something, he'd just go to the app and buy. And all he did for that in return was a 5% commission on every transaction. He was able to connect the app to mobile money processing, and every time a customer bought milk from a farmer, he got what? 5%. Every time a farmer bought inputs from one of the stores, he got a 5% commission. Every time a border rider charged for his services to deliver milk, he got a 5% commission. So he went to influencers, these social media influencers. I think he spent 100,000 to pay them, so that at the end of the first month, over 100,000 people had onboarded the platform. Meaning, although they were not active, but at least there were farmers who were in there, there were customers who were in there, there were border riders who were in there, there were these shops that sell farm inputs are called what? Agrovets. There were agrovets in there, so 100,000. And at the beginning of the second month, he was able, or rather his platform was able to make 20,000 transactions per day. 20,000 transactions per day. On average, each transaction in terms of commission was giving him about 15 shillings. So for some, it's possible, or rather it's very easy to calculate how much money he made, because it's the 20,000 transactions that his platform was carrying out every day. He was getting an average of 15, because, I mean, it's 5% of the total value of whatever the customers paid. And at the end of the first month, we can be able to tell how much he made. His only expense was the amount he paid the influencers. Some had no cows, he had no farm, he didn't go to big corporations to ask them how much they pay, he had no delivery trucks, But he was able to make how much per month?
8.9.
Yeah?
8.9. See, kuna 100,000.
8.9 million. 8.9 million.
Let me ask.
Hmm.
He was making 20,000 transactions a day,
Yes.
of which each transaction,
Was earning him 15 shillings.
so it is 15 times 20,000 for 30 days.
Yes.
Which is coming to around 9 million.
Okay. And he spent 100,000 to pay the influencers.
Yes. Was it one time? Or was it...
No, just whatever number of times. Maybe there were different influencers. One was a, yeah.
So it was 8.9.
Wow, okay. Do you notice something in that story? Who worked the hardest? How much did he make as profit?
He had 20 cows or 10?
10 cows.
10 cows.
He had 300 cows.
Kamau had 10 cows.
10 cows.
Yes, remember his money he spent to buy a piece of land for 1 million and 10 cows for the other 1 million. So from the story, Kamau, the most hardworking guy. You know, even when he walked around town, he was either smelling milk or manure. How much did he make? 180,000. All the hard work. He didn't sleep. He broke his back. He woke up early. 180. Jogona. How much did he make? 3.9 million. So he went a different route. He didn't own the cow, but he was able to capitalize on the milk that the least cows produced. Joroge went further. Instead of one farm, he had 10 farms, and he had contracts with customers. How much did he make? 11.4 million. So it's easy to see, or when they take these results to their dad, they'll explain, right? Kamau will say, I bought 10 cows like you, daddy, right? Because he saw how his father was doing business, right? And I worked hard because hard work is a virtue. I didn't want to be lazy. I did the milking, I did everything, I didn't employ anyone. Here is the money I made. Jogona will go and tell his dad, Dad, I didn't want to buy land or cows, so I went to this and this farm. I was able to get a deal, and this is what I brought to the table. He'll be told, good work, my son. And he'll say, let's see what Joroge will bring. Remember, Joroge used his father's name to get the deal, but still, he was clever enough to make how much? 11.4. Then the last born will be called Sam. Sam will come to the table. He'll say, I didn't touch or deal with any cow. I didn't touch or see any milk being sold. But still, I was able to make 8.9 million. But there's something interesting about these equations. What will happen the next month to Kamau? He'll still make 180, right? Because he still has the 10 cows, he still has 1 day to work every day, and he doesn't have any employees, so that's how much the maximum he can produce. What about Jogona the next month? Same, right? What about Njoroge? The same. Sam goes back to his bedroom, puts on his headphones, starts playing games, but his app is still onboarding people when he's asleep, right? So what will happen later? This will change to 40,000. He'll still get his commission, and at the end of the month, the second month, he'll have so please have that story at the back of your mind, because we'll use it for reference while trying to explain these things. But one thing that makes me sad or bothers me about this story is that right now we are all trying to make money. We are trying to start businesses, we are trying to do this, but there's a Gen Z somewhere in his bedroom or garage. He's testing different things with his code. And in the next few years, he'll be a millionaire. Na sisi tuko hapa. That is some for you. In the tech world, or in the business and tech world, we call this kind of people the Sigma. His father made the rules, but he played a different game. What did his father say? Whoever sells the most milk. They all followed the rules, but he didn't. Yet he made more. Okay, he might not have gotten the job because he didn't. Njoroge made more, but exponentially, he'll make more money over time. Okay, let's go back to our discussion. Now, we are talking about value. And the second thing that I want us to note is that money measures value. There was a class in high school, I think business studies, where we learned about the functions of money. And we said, money is the measure of value. Do you remember that class? The transfer of value. You remember? You forgot. And also the store of value, right? So that is in a textbook somewhere. I know after you passed the exam, you forgot about all that. But, so meaning that in this case, because we're talking about income for value, then the standard measure is money, right? So meaning, okay, I'll say some things that might not be good to hear, but remember, this is just a class like any other class, ndio. So, chenye nitasema, isifanye ukasirike ukatae kukuja. Ndio. Meaning that the value you are creating can be measured by the money that you are either transferring or storing. Meaning, if you look at your bank account, so you've said money is the store of value. Where do you store your money? Bank or M-Pesa? Does it make you want to laugh or want to cry? Then that shows you how much value you're producing and how much compensation you're getting for that value, right? When we go to the levels of value, you'll understand why that income is that much and how you can increase it to another level. Remember, this class is also supposed to help you move from one level to another. Money, I don't know whether you've heard this saying that money talks. Yeah? So money is talking to you. Are you listening? Are you listening? Because if money talks and you've looked at your bank account, then it tells you that whatever value you are offering, you either being underpaid, or you're offering the wrong value. Remember that example I gave you. Your value is selling water. Then you go to sell water when it is raining. So what are you doing? You're offering value, but it's the wrong value. The customers or whoever is supposed to compensate you for that value doesn't derive any utility from what you're offering. Or you're being underpaid. You're offering good value, but because of certain reasons, you don't know how to negotiate, etc., you're being what? Underpaid. So money communicates. Check your bank account. It's the store of your value. Listen to what money is saying, and we'll see what happens. So now, I was an economics student, and we discussed something in class or in school, that revenue, I don't know if there's anyone else who studied economics or business. Okay, that revenue is price times quantity. Like if you want to know how much money you're making for doing business, you'll multiply how many units you've sold times the price you're selling each unit. Like what you've just done with Kamau and his brothers. We were able to multiply the price times how many liters you were selling. We were able to get the revenue, right? Now, I want us to use this formula, but now instead of revenue, we call it value or income. So meaning, for you to get an income, whatever you're selling must have a price, isn't it? Service, good, if you're selling nyanyas, it has to have a price. And I want this quantity to change from just the number of items you're selling to the people, what is the number of people you are serving. And I think that was very clear in this situation, that the more they served more people, right? Remember, this guy was selling to a few people because he could only produce 300 liters a day, right? This guy could produce, with 300 cows times 30 liters, he could produce 9,000, so he was able to serve more people, right? The same case here, the same case with some. So meaning that your value is directly proportional to the number of people you're serving. And that's why even at Ufalme Wetu, the organization that we run, we are always looking to onboard more members. Why? Because for us to be able to create more value, we have to serve more people. It was, we have seen already here, and this will help us to understand what I call the levels of value. So whatever we have discussed, including the story, was to be able to help us understand what these levels represent, how we define them, and how we can be able to move from one level to the other. The first level, we are calling it linear value creation. Remember, I've told you, like, today I'll give you tips, I'll give you points that you'll follow, and you start the easiest business that you can start. And the easiest business that you can start is called having a personal brand or being a consultant in what you do. So I'll teach you how to become a consultant. If you follow the steps, at the end of the year, I want my cut of however much you'll have made. So, okay. So linear value creation. From the way that it's written, or from whatever this word means, linear, it means then income is proportional to time and effort. This is typically Kamau. Kamau has 12 hours in a day, and he is the effort. Sindio? He is heavily built. He has muscles. He's able to go to the shamba, cut the grass, carry it on his shoulders, take it to the cows, milk the cows, take the milk to the co-op society, all that. So, but his income is it's constrained, another word we can use, by this. Because, the other 12 hours he has to rest, right? So, his time and his effort are also what we call biological constraints. And here, if we are to give examples to help understand this is where we have employees and self-employed. Remember, even if you are an employee right now, that is where everyone starts, right? You need experience, you need capital to do what? To move to the next level. So, even if it might look bad that we are saying that Kamau was self-employed and he was in the lowest level of value creation, and employees are also there, it's because it follows these characteristics. One, look at it this way. How many people, to get an income, how many people does an employee serve? Because remember the formula is, let's say you're paying this employee even 50,000 shillings. How many people does an employee serve? Okay, by serving, look at it this way. If you are a bank teller, see, there are so many people who will come to the line. But are those people paying you? No. So that is your work. Those are not the people you're serving. The person who exchanges the value you give them with money is who you are serving. So who pays the employee? The employer. So the employee is serving who? The employer. The employee has how many employers? So the employee is serving how many people? One. So his value is constrained by that factor. That if he wants to increase his income, it can only be increased what we call linearly, okay, or incrementally. Self-employed, this is where you create a job and then you employ yourself. And you find in most cases of self-employment, like if you are a juakali artisan and all that, the number of people you will serve, maybe you are, or a tailor for instance, maybe you are charging 2,000 per day. Like those tailors who sit at the front of shops, how many people do they serve? Is it 1,000? 100? 10? Probably, right? So again, his ability to create value is constrained by his level of value creation. Because when I say it's if the only way to add that income is incrementally, how can this employee who makes an income of 50,000 double his income? That now he's being paid 100,000. Last month, December, 100, this month, 50,000 this month, 100. How can he double his income? Can someone raise an income by 100%? No. How can he double his income? No, if he's self-employed, it's very hard. Because if you're a tailor at the door of a shop outside there, and you're repairing clothes and all that, I don't know how you can make these people more than, or rather to reach 100. So meaning, these people, the only way income increases is by addition. Like you will get a 10% increment. It's not by multiplication. Because doubling is multiplication, times 2. So it can only be by addition. And I think this is even against the Bible. Because God said what? Be fruitful and add. Did he say be fruitful and add? He said be fruitful and multiply. So meaning when you're operating at this level of value, like Kamau, the only way you can do is increase your income, not multiply. Because even if Kamau adds another cow, can he double the 180? It will only add a small percentage to his 180. Right? So this is the first level of income. It's linear, value creation. We go to the next one. But remember, it's not bad. You start there. And actually, that leads me to the first point of the business that you're going to create. Open a new page. We'll write about 5 points of how to start your business. And the first point is solve other people's problems. Seek to solve other people's problems. Last week we spent a lot of time talking about identity, money identity, lie identity, etc. And the kind of money identity most of us have is that we have bills to pay, we have people to support, right, etc. So when you go to look for a job, whose problem are you solving? Your problems. You're solving your money problem. And that's why you're in this level. This guy here, he's not outside here, this tailor, because she likes repairing torn clothes. That Juakali artisan, he's not outside there because he feels happy hitting chumas with... no, it's because he's hungry, he has rent to pay, he has a family to feed, so he's solving his own problem. That point, the number one point, you can add that you have to sell what people want, what other people want. So you're solving other people's problem, but even if it's their problem, remember we said value is determined by the perceiver of whoever you're selling to, right? I like movies. Because I like movies, I open a movie shop. But around me, everyone has internet, everyone has Netflix, so there is no demand for movies. So why did I open the shop? Because I like movies. And that's why I don't like this thing of passion. Because your passion, what you like, what you're likely going to start a business with, is not what customers want. Are we together there? Yes. So solve other people's problems, but even when you're solving them, not the way you want. Right? And that's why it's very hard to go looking for customers, because when you're explaining to them your product or your service, you're telling them how you want. You don't know their problem, you don't know their needs, so you're not solving their pain points. You're solving your interest. So we have point number 1, sindio? We can also add that point, that whatever problem you're solving, serve many people. Still point number 1. Remember, if you serve one person, serve many people repeatedly. At least Kamau, Jorage, and Jogona had that. Because milk's demand is almost every day, right? So they were able to serve at least more people. They were able to do it repeatedly. But if your business is to serve one person, then that's a problem. And herein lies the problem. I'm teaching you to open a personal brand business, a consultant. But it's like I'm taking you back here, because as a consultant, I mean, you'll probably get 1 or 3 people that want training. And you charge them 15,000 each. So it's like I've taken you back here. But wait, let's see. So. Let's move to the second level. The second one, systematic value creation. Now, this knowledge that I'm giving you, or this lesson that we are learning, how would I put it? It's like not new, but it's different. I haven't seen anyone else who has classified value creation the way we are doing it. So you wouldn't go to any textbook or any book and find this. So if we make mistakes or we miss something, it's understandable. Remember, I told you I'm also learning. I do the research so that I can learn. I teach so that I can master. So we can teach each other. So systematic. Now this one, effort is amplified by systems, people, finance. Amplified means what? Inaongezwa, si ndio? Yeah. Effort is amplified by systems, people, and finance. Meaning that if this kinyozi guy just had 1 more person as an assistant, what would happen? When he gets sick, will the business stop? No. So what has he done? He has amplified effort. He's not only using his energy, he has found someone else to do it, right? When we started Ufalme Wetu around 2021, it was a business idea in a briefcase with only me going around. So it was in that level one thing, that if it had to run, then, or rather if I was sick and I had people to recruit, then I had to miss that appointment. Why? There was no systems, there was no people, there was also no money. But what happened next? We found people. What I could do, someone else could do it, another person would do it in another area. So when we are 3, what does that mean? Effort is amplified. If initially I was getting 1 result, now at least we can get 3 results in the same time. Money also amplifies. And in this case, the kind of money we talk about is other people's money. People say that you need capital to start a business. Capital is your money, right? Ni ile pesa you've saved, umeomba from parents, inherit, you start a business with it. But that business will remain at this level if you do not amplify it with money. But in most cases, like Jugona here had the capital from his dad, right? But most people do not have that luxury of getting money from their parents. So what do? They borrow from the bank. They borrow from chamas. They borrow also from their friends. So it's money that you do not have, but you're using it to amplify your operations. So meaning that most SMEs will fall under this category. Small and medium enterprises. Why? They are, the value that they are creating, they are serving many people, and at the same time, they are able to charge a given price because they have been able to put systems, they have been able to streamline the processes, etc., such that their profit margins are good, so they're able to charge a good price. Look at Jogona. What did he do? He bought a pickup, right? To be able to transport the milk from point A to point B. And he also employed 5 people. So instantly, if it was Kamau who started doing what Jogona has done, we would say he has moved from level 1 to level 2. He's using systems, he's using people. By using people's money, kuwatumia vibaya, he's employed them and he's paying them. And he's also using finance to amplify whatever he's doing. At this point, this is where you find most of these service businesses, like schools. Schools serve many people, so they have to employ many staff. They have to constantly borrow money to be able to support their operations. Clinics, legal firms, accounting firms, and I'm adding you here, consultants and personal brands. So basically, now you have to shift your thinking. So I told you, like, you in level 1, if you're a consultant, think of it this way. There's something you're really good at, right? You're good in media, you're good in videography and photography, you're good in data analysis, you're good in business, you're good in architecture, you're good in what? Business, you're good in IT, you're good in media, good in business. So meaning, whatever you'll be consulting has to be related with what you do, right? Because already you have interacted with people and they know what you do. But you've not yet packaged yourself as a business, so that is why probably you have not been able to sell yourself. But then again, write this point, number 2, where we are writing out to start your business. Become a category of 1. Become a category of 1. If I go to the market, if I go to someone's office, I knock and introduce myself. Hey, I'm looking for a consultancy job. I am a finance consultant. The one reason why I won't get that job is because there are maybe 100,000 finance consultants. There are 100,000 architects. There are 100,000 business people. There are so many people in IT. There are so many people in photography and media, right? So if you introduce yourself, I'm a data analyst, you are in a category of many, isn't it? So what should you do? This is the secret. One, specialize, and two, find what we call niche clients. So remember, we are trying to make our consultant business create more value for us. So by specializing, it means you changing your identity from a finance consultant. You're changing your identity from videographer and photographer. You're changing your identity from a data analyst to something more specialized. Like, for instance, as in business, we can say, I am, let's say, a cash flow engineer or a tax planner. There are not many people in the finance sector who are able to restructure cash flows for organizations to make the organization more profitable. There are many finance consultants, there are many accountants. But to be in a category of one, I need to specialize, right? Then I won't go to just any person. I'll go to businesses that use cash flows. Hardwares, wholesales, the ones, SMEs that we had listed here, clinics, schools, etc. I know they have issues because most of the times they have more creditors. Creditors ni watu wenye wanawadai pesa than debtors. So they're always constantly struggling for money. So if I introduce myself that I restructure cash flows to make your books or to make your life easier, I'll get the job other than saying I'm a finance consultant. Same way, I'm a tax planner. People have issues with taxes. I tell the person, I'm able to plan taxes and activities for your organization so that at the end of the year, you'll be able to save a certain percentage of your profits because of my work. So what have I done? I have moved from the general pool of financial consultants to a category of one. So that is up to you to think what you shall do. So now, in this case, income increases systematically. At least here you can be able to double your income. If we give a very simple example, let's say you start a cleaning business where you go to someone's home or office, you clean, they pay you, right? So at first, you are a lone ranger. So you get one client, but and you charge a certain price, but you are the effort and you are the time. You're spending all the energy, right? So the time constraint, even if you have a lot of work, probably you can only be able to go to 4 houses in a day. But what do you do in the systematic value creation? You increase, you hire, let's say 4 people. You buy a vacuum machine, or let's say just equipment, and you get some capital from the bank for operations. Most people say that I will first wait to get money so that I can hire a person. While it's supposed to be the other way around. I'll hire an assistant so that I can make more money. So what happens here? If this person as an individual was only able to go to 4 houses in a day, now he has hired 4 assistants, meaning there are 5. So they're able to go to 20 houses. Same time, the 12 hours, but different energies, different outcome. So they have used time, they have used systems, they have used other people's money and also capital, that is equipment and all that. Now, where is Joroge? Because we can say that this guy is in level 1, right? Juguna is in level 2. Where is Joroge? Is he in level 1, level 2, or another level? What did Joroge do? Let's remind ourselves. 1, he used his father's reputation. 2, he used other people's money, and a lot of it. He was given a deposit, right? Mm-hmm. What else? He didn't sell in one locality. He had a distribution channel. That's why he had refrigerated trucks, and at every location he had a storage. You remember? So, is this guy in level 2? No. He's in level 3. We call it exponential. So here, value or income is driven by platforms, networks, distribution, media, of course, capital, and labor. Those 2 have to be there. And now, the next point I want to say, look at this guy. If Kama wants, if we can be able to quantify the energy he uses, let's say he uses 1 unit of energy per day. So he's able to produce with that 1 unit, how much was the money per day? Or rather, let's just put it per month. He was able to produce 180,000 that day, right? That month, isn't it? For using 1 unit of energy. The next month, for him to be able to produce 180,000, he has to use the same effort. So output here is directly proportional to effort. If you put 2 units, then this will go to probably double, isn't it? So effort directly proportional to this. In this case, we said it increases systematically, such that if you use 1 unit, you're able to produce a certain output, let's call it Q. But when you put 2 units, you're able to produce something with maybe a multiplication factor, maybe 3Q. So it's not increasing it's not increasing incrementally like this one, but increasing systematically. At least here you can start the multiplication concept. This is where God says, no, you multiply. But in the exponential, something very interesting happens. That if you produce 1 unit or an extra unit, it has almost an infinite kind of effect. Let's look at it this way. You are our consultant. So everyone must reach to this level, because hata mimi sijafika, but that is where I'm trying to go. I use effort, 1 unit of effort, to record and produce a video. This is what you're doing, right? I post it on YouTube. You want to tell me because I've used 1 unit of effort, I'll get 1 viewer? No, right? This 1 level of output can produce even 1 million, right? I am a consultant. I write 1 book. So the only time I'm using effort is when I'm researching and writing that book, right? Because I've used 1 unit. Do you want to tell me I'll only sell 1 copy?
No.
I can sell up to infinity, because these books will sell next year, they'll sell the other year, they'll sell the other year. And before I give you an example here, let's go to the 3rd point of starting our business. Then I realized my tongue is heavy when I tried to say productize. It was coming out productize. But at least now I've nailed it. Productize your service. Productize your service. In other words, you can add it, detach income from presence. Detach income from presence. Your presence. No, not your presence. Just detach income from presence. Now, remember at level 1, when we started our consultancy business, you had to go to a training physically, right? So I'm being paid to be here. If I don't show up, I'll not be paid. To make more money, you have to move from this training, go to another one, etc. So my income is attached with my presence. But now I'm telling you that you have to detach that. We have to move to another level, whereby that 1 unit of effort will have an exponential. What does exponential mean? The multiplication is very high. The multiplication rate is very high, right? You plant 1 seed. Do you get 1 fruit from that tree? No, isn't it? So the same case, productize your service. If you're training like me, then it means I need to have probably whatever I've already said. A book, videos on YouTube. So what is that doing? I can be able to tell people, I have this course, that is a video course, so I'll sell it to you at this amount of money. So 100 people can buy the course. I don't have to go and train them because my effort was only to produce that 1 video. The same way with the book. My effort is producing that 1 book. So as a consultant, what does it mean to productize your service? Whatever you're going to be a consultant in. Remember, being in the video and photography sector, it doesn't mean you always have, your work is to go and take the photos, etc. You can train people to do that. You can create tutorials that you can sell to people who are willing to start that journey, and that way you're productizing your service. Your effort is infinitely proportional to the output. That is exponential. Now, look at these things that we've said. What did Sam create? A platform. His effort was once. The first month, he onboarded 20,000 people. And that platform has the capacity to onboard how many people? We don't know. Infinite, isn't it? And that's the same thing we've realized, or we have discovered at Ufalme, that doing things manually will restrict us to the number of people we can serve. So what is the option? What is the solution? To create a platform that can serve hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100,000 of people without our presence. At night, during the day, anytime. And that's why most financial institutions have platforms. Media institutions have platforms. Facebook is also a platform. YouTube is also a platform. Meaning, the first time that they created that unit, that's the time they used their effort. After that, so we say here, okay, this is also an economics concept. Let me explain it before I put it. In economics, there's something we say that if we calculate the cost of producing 1 unit and we find that the cost is 20 shillings, and then the cost of producing 2 units is 25, the cost of producing 3 units is 27, we calculate something we call marginal cost. Marginal cost simply means what is the extra cost of producing an extra unit. Remember, the first unit required the assembly, it required so many things to be done first, it required all those things. But the second, the third, the fourth, and the more number of units is basically a duplicate of that. So in this case, we can see to produce the second unit, you require an additional 5. To produce the third unit, you require an additional 2 shillings. So it so happens that the more and more units you produce, the marginal cost goes lower and lower, such that you'll find a situation whereby it doesn't cost you any money to produce an extra unit. So, meaning the marginal cost is 0. Now, let's look at its applications here. If this guy here, Joroge, is delivering this number of liters every day, and we said he has employed 100,000 people, he's paying them 20. What if he looks, or rather he finds an extra 20 cows? Do you think he'll employ more people? No, isn't it? This number of people, it's not 100,000. This number of people can be able to handle the extra unit, isn't it? So meaning his additional cost of increasing production is 0. When banks start, maybe Equity has a platform or an app for people to transact. Initially, they have to advertise, isn't it? So they have to have what we call customer acquisition cost. But eventually, what happens? Do you think if you onboard that platform for Equity Bank will incur any cost? No. So an extra customer does not result to an additional cost. So meaning exponential value can increase indefinitely. Sindio? Inaendelea ikiendelea. Networks. No, there's that thing we say, it's who you know, such kind of thing, and all that. Media. You know the power of media. Like that example I was giving about YouTube. Just requires one effort. Like if Mr. Beast, I've seen his videos, if he advertises his chocolates on one video, how many people see it? Hundreds of millions, isn't it? One effort, exponential output. And it doesn't cost him any extra cost if that video reaches 10 billion or whatever, isn't it? Distribution. Now, this is what changed the game for Njoroge. And this is why there's a discussion that, or a question that I ask people, what do you think is important? To have a product that is very new, that you're trying to introduce to the market, or to have an old product that is already there, but with distribution channels? What is better? An old product with distribution channels. And someone said, there's someone I was listening to, he said this, that the way you know first, or rather second time entrepreneurs, an entrepreneur who has failed before and then he started again, is that the second time entrepreneur concentrates more on distribution than on the product. The first time entrepreneur will make a product and think this product it's very good, you know, it's very nice, I've invented something nice, but it doesn't have what? Distribution channels. So he ends up failing. But when he starts again, he'll think of the product plus how to distribute it. And that's why you find these old companies that have been there for ages. It's because of distribution. Coca-Cola, KBL, all those, even Safaricom, because of distribution. They are everywhere in the country. So that is exponential value. So this value increases exponentially. Okay?
Now, maybe for that, the audience,
Okay.
they want to be consultants. Now, if I want my consultancy business to grow exponentially, and have a product, maybe it's a service product. Now, how do I create distribution for my service?
Okay, so you've asked a very good question. We can go back to this. I have said, so the first thing is you'll have people that work with you, and these people can be assistants. You can outsource. You can do what we call franchise. Like for instance, there is a company called KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers. They're auditing firms, but they are in almost every country. So, but the person who started it is not there in every one of those. So he has created distribution by franchise. He tells you, start an office, I'll give you my name to use, and you'll give me a royalty at the end of it all. So you outsource. You have a branch in Kisii, so you look for architects around that area, you put one in the office, and you'll also have systems that you, the system gives the solution. You as a person only delivers the judgment. What does that mean? That you have, okay, whatever in architecture you do, whatever problems that you solve, you already have a system that is trained to do that, to analyze the problem, offer the solution. But since you are a consultant, then you have to go to the person you're consulting, or you send an assistant to go and deliver the judgment that this is what we have discovered, this is what you should do. So you can create distribution that way. Another way is what you said, using media. Like most people I see, which is unfortunate, use media only for entertainment. Like when you go to TikTok, there's what you call doom scrolling. You're just there seeing content. And the people that I'm more disappointed with is the content creators who have audience, but they don't have a product. Like they have the network, they have the media, but they're not offering anything to those followers. So they are missing a chance. And what happens with especially beauty, dancing, comedy, those kind of influencers, what happens with them? They don't last forever. A better comedian will come someday, a better beautiful person will come someday, etc. So if you don't take that advantage, when you have the media, you have the attention, you have the audience to sell something, to productize your service, because remember, the audience are not your customers because of watching or liking your video. You have not offered them any value, you have only entertained them. But if you had something going on behind the scenes, such that you entertain and then direct them to whatever you're offering, then you might be in this class. So this class also includes elite brand ambassadors. Okay, by elite, I should be forgiven to say this. I'm thinking of people like Cristiano Ronaldo, not our local celebrities. Yeah? And if, he's elite, he's able to, one game that he plays or he participates in, it's broadcast to probably 1 billion people, isn't it? So that is exponential value creation. I don't know whether you've read the story of, I think she's called Kylie Jenner. Have you read her story? What is it about?
Lip kits. She started with lip kits.
Yes, she's a beauty influencer, and she used media, specifically Instagram, to promote her business. And she's considered the first youngest self-made billionaire. Her following was 100 million, I think, plus. I don't know how much it is today. So, started with those beauty products that she's saying. Didn't have manufacturing, didn't have own product, but she was able to outsource those. Then use her media, not to entertain, but to sell, yes, to advertise. And became a billionaire. So if you have Facebook, if you have TikTok, don't use it for the wrong reasons. Another question?
For example, the one that we are telling us about, maybe the first product can cost maybe 20, the second one 25.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I have a question.
Okay.
Does that apply to some businesses and not to others? Because assume maybe it is maybe in manufacturing. Will the same cost be the same if I increase my products, maybe the number of my products that I want to produce, or does it just apply to maybe things that don't need manufacturing or something?
It's actually mostly in manufacturing. This is what happens. To get the cost of an item, we use two categories. One, we call the fixed cost absorbed, and two, the variable costs. Like, for instance, if you're making this chalk, there is the material that was used, right? This small material, it has a cost, right? There was someone who was paid to make it, right? And then there were other costs like maybe the coloring, if they used glue or whatever, I don't know how they make them, but there was a specific cost attached to this thing, right? Then this happens in a factory that has rent, and it also happens in a factory that has other employees who are not in the production, whatever. See, they're managers and all that. There are also vehicles that require fuel, etc. So, others. So assume the material for making one chalk is 1 shilling, the labor is 1, and others is about 50 cents. So meaning the variable cost is 2.5. Assume then that the rent for these premises is 100,000, or rather all the cost is 100,000. So we have to find a way of absorbing that cost to this chalk. So what do? We calculate how many pieces we have made. We divide by the cost. So we get that each chalk can absorb 1 shilling, right? So at this point, then the total cost of making this chalk is 3.5. But now we increase the quantity of chalks such that we'll get discount on the materials. We are able to use systems, so production equipment, so we pay labor slightly cheaper. And since now we have more resources, other costs also go down. But watch what happens here. The rent is fixed and other things are fixed, right? And now we have increased the number we are producing. So meaning now 400,000 pieces of chalk, each will absorb 0.25. So what has happened? This is 1.62 plus 0.25. It comes to 2. So increasing the quantity has reduced the cost per unit because of other things like economies of scale, etc. Like if you have a lorry that has a capacity of carrying, let's say 20 tons and uses 20 liters of fuel to move from point A to point B. If you carry 10 tons, how much fuel will you use? The same. So if you carry the maximum, then it means you are enjoying the economies of scale and the cost per unit will go down. So we are not saying that the cost will be zero. What we are saying, or we were saying there, is that the additional cost of producing an additional unit will be zero. So the cost of production cannot be zero, but the additional cost of adding another unit. Yeah. So I wanted us to apply these formulas a little bit, whereby we want to get the income. So in the first case, we have let's say, okay, so these are the levels. So level 1, 2, and 3. So the first case, people, let people be N, the price, and the income. So we said, like, for instance, if an employee is employed at 50,000, how many people is he serving? One. So the formula can be applied to get an income of 50. Then what happens now as a consultant when you have reached level 2 and you're able to productize your courses, your products, etc., can you be able to get 100 clients? Yes, right? You can be able to get, because now you have detached your service with your presence. You don't have to be there for that service to be offered. But something else also happens. Because of that economies of scale, even if you have moved from employment, you can't charge these people the amount you're being paid in employment, isn't it? Probably each person here, you'll charge them how much? Maybe 15,000 for the consultancy. So how much is your income? 250,000.
1.5.
It's a lot.
1.5.
150 is if you multiply by 10. But you see what has happened? The price per unit has gone down. Your number of people you're serving has gone up. So meaning you can be able to double this over a small period of time. But let's see now if you are working in this class such that if you're producing something like, who was this guy? Jogona was producing, you're able to sell it for even 8 shillings, isn't it? Economies of scale, etc. But how many units, how many people is he serving? Probably 1 million across the country. So what happens to the income? It increases exponentially. So watch that pattern. The higher the level, the lower the price per unit, but the higher the number of people being served. So always remember that. Now, I want to read something to conclude this part. And so this one I read, so you don't have to write, but you just need to understand. It's how to transition from linear to systematic. So because most of the people, like if you do the statistics of Kenya or anywhere, most of the people are poor, right? And the reason we can be able to define because of value is that they create very little value. So meaning their compensation is also very little. So how do we help them? Like already at Ufalme Wetu, we are doing that. Remember our core values at Ufalme Wetu. One, we seek production tools instead of credit. That is one of it. Like we teach people to be producers. That if you take a loan, it's not to consume, it's to produce. We teach them to seek skills, alternative skills instead of papers. You don't need to go to college to get a degree or a certificate or a diploma when the internet or like the class you are in has alternative skills that you can acquire. We teach people about redistributing resources across the pyramid. That in most cases what happens is that the resources always go back to the rich. When you get your income, you go to Naivas and Quickmart to shop instead of promoting the people in your level. So we teach them to be, instead of distributing resources upwards, they redistribute them across the pyramid. We teach them to convert chamas into peer banks. We're moving from informal, disorganized setups to formal, organized setups with a platform to be able to control that. And we teach other things like seeking representation instead of promises. That is what politicians do. They always promise but don't deliver. And we also teach them to save and reinvest their taxes. We don't encourage people to evade paying taxes, but we teach them how to avoid, which is legal, paying taxes, and then use whatever they have saved for reinvestment. So what I've written here for everyone else is the best way you can be able to transition is, one, you structure roles. Even if you are a sole trader or in level 1, you structure roles so that you can be able to be prepared for delegation. In most cases, as a sole trader, what happens? You're the accountant, you're the marketer, you're the everything falls on you. So you're always in stress mode. You separate money. This happens also to even big institutions and organizations, that they do not differentiate between business money and personal money. You find people eating capital, which means they're stealing from their business. Then detach pricing from time. So whatever we've said, that if you're going to offer a service, your presence has to be detached from, so that you can be able to move to the next level. Then this is something we've said before: change or shift or advance your identity. So people, if you're working, you identify yourself as a worker, as an employee, but we're saying now shift your identity into a producer. And lastly, think in terms of value for result, not time for money. So at level 1, people are paid the money based on the time that they have worked. But now base your thinking on results for value. That has been our class, part 1. We'll continue with the steps for starting and running our first business this year. As usual, for any questions, queries, comments, we have our comment section. We'll read them and reply to your questions. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the unveiling of Untold History documentaries, mastering classes in business management, and sparking insights through money dialogues. This is Jeph Kafka TV, where you discover untold business histories, master the art of management, and ignite money conversations that matter.